guys, Ash Raid Shadow Legends, welcome to the video. Glad to have you all here with me today. Sending some love, some positive vibes your way, especially if you need it out there today. This is actually going to be a hell of a good video. I guarantee it. I guarantee it out the gate here, guys. It's about Affinity, not the sexiest topic in the world, but hey, I'm a 5+ year savvy veteran of Raid. At least I like to think of myself as one. According to the comments, maybe not so much, but hey, I have been playing Raid for a long time, and certainly I understand all the dynamics of affinities. At least I thought I did. Turns out I even learned something in researching this video, and odds are whether you're a brand new player or whether you're a veteran like yours truly, you'll walk away with a better understanding of how Affinity can impact your account, both the gains that you can get from considering the Affinity advantages, and also all the caveats, all the exceptions, and also all the detriments of having a negative Affinity matchup. So let's dive right into it, but hey, shout out to all the new viewers out there. I was looking at my analytics and look at this. 12,000 new viewers on a random day here, 34,000 returning viewers. Man, am I doing something wrong? New viewers, keep returning. I promise the content will get better.
Tally-ho, pip-pip, and Bernard's your uncle.
In English, we say good morning.
By the way, while we're here, shout out to my top 5 demos. We got USA, UK, Germany, Canada, and the Netherlands coming out of nowhere in 5th place.
Let's hear
Man,
it.
you're so competitive. Look at you. You get defensive when I get one. You're getting defensive.
You're trying to get in my head, and I'm not looking.
All right, 2 affinities. He said this was going to be a quick video, and he's blabbing about his freaking analytics. I promise the content will get better.
Are you sure about that?
All right, the basics. Magic is strong against Spirit. Spirit is strong against Force. Force is strong against Magic. Or blue against green. Green against red. Red against Magic. Historically, Magic has always been kind of the meta of raids, so there is some inherent value in having Force Affinity champions, and thus, there's some, you know, when everybody zigs, you zag, there's a little bit of inherent value in countering the counter to the meta and having Spirit Affinity champions. Of course, Void Affinity, they're premium, aka they have no advantage, no disadvantage, and as you'll find out in today's video, there really aren't that many advantages compared to disadvantages to affinities. So Voids are, well, they're like 5 times more expensive to open the shard, and they don't have to worry about any disadvantages when it comes to Affinity. So we'll be talking primarily about the 3 colors and not about Voids in today's video. All right, so really quickly, guys, what are the Affinity advantages? A 30% chance of landing a strong hit. Okay, already out the gate, we are being deceived by the game here. Landing a strong hit. What does a strong hit do, first of all? A strong hit deals 30% extra damage. Shout out to Saf because he released a video a few months ago really breaking down that this is very, very deceptive. And this is why I told you guys out the gate that there's not many advantages to having a positive Affinity matchup, whereas there's a lot of disadvantage to having a weak, right? So a little bit of a semantic game because you're still going to benefit from all the disadvantages of your opponent. But I say all that to say 30% chance of landing a strong hit only pertains to if you don't land a critical hit. I'll repeat that. If you don't land a critical hit, you have a chance of landing a strong hit. So all the champions that you really want to land a strong hit, your nukers, they're already going to have a 100% crit rate if you're building your nukers correctly in most cases, right? Thus, you're never going to experience a strong hit except for on support champions or champions that you forget to crit cap at 100%. So a little deceptive to how the strong hit, you know, pertains to your champions. Do you guys, would you guys give it, would you guys prefer it to actually pertain to all champions even when they land a critical hit? Speaking of critical hits, we also have an extra 50% chance of landing a critical hit when we have an Affinity advantage. But again, you know, our nukers are already going to have a 100% crit rate. So that's it for the advantages. That's all for the Affinity advantages. Let's talk about the disadvantages, and there's a lot to get to here. Damage reduced by 20%. We also have a 35% chance of getting a weak hit, which is awful. A chance of a skill landing as a critical hit is reduced by 15%. So now we have a maximum 85% chance to land a critical hit, and we also have a 35% chance of getting a weak hit. What does a weak hit do? Well, it's awful. It decreases the damage by 30%, including all bonuses, and it does not activate certain effects. For example, shield, which is a buff, and debuffs. Even if a champion has a 100% chance to land a debuff, you booked him out, 100% chance, and you land a weak hit, you're not going to be landing that debuff. On a shield, it's interesting that they say, this is from a Plarium official website, by the way, They say they won't land a shield. How about a champion like Lanithero, right? He's going in with his A2 ability. What am I doing in live arena? Attacks all enemies. Let's say he was attacking all spirit enemies and he landed a weak hit. Then places a shield on all allies 3 turns based on his max HP. If he lands a weak hit on his attack before the shield, then he won't place that shield, right? If it was place a shield on all allies and then attacks all enemies, the shield happens before the attack and it'll always land it. It's a very nuanced thing about buffs. Usually it's not like that in the game, but it is worth understanding, hey, why didn't that shield land, right? Moreover, and this is important, there's always, even if you have a strong matchup, a strong affinity matchup in this game, there's still a 3% chance to have your effects on the enemy get resisted. That sucks. And the weak hit includes things like instantly activate poisons or HP burns. It also includes things like reducing the turn meter of your opponent. Any effect that you're landing on an opponent will not happen on a weak hit, which is a whopping 35% chance of happening. That can ruin a lot of runs out there. Here's a nice handy chart if you want to screenshot it, guys, outlining everything that we just spoke about. Now, guys, there are some exceptions to this rule, such as a champion like Bivald of the Thorn. His effects, the Leech and the Provoke, can be placed even if this attack lands as a weak hit. I don't have to tell you guys how powerful that effect is. Another one of my personal favorites in the entire game is Contra the Cyclone, who has a boatload of debuffs on her A2 ability, but on her passive, this champion can place debuffs on weak hits. That's a game changer. It adds consistency to your runs. Now, there is another way around that, and it's called the Affinity Breaker set. You can farm this from the Nether Spider in Doom Tower, and this recently-ish, kind of a year ago, got a buff. It has a 50% chance to change a weak hit into a critical hit. It's a 4 artifact set. You also get 30% crit damage. So not too bad. It's a way to mitigate those weak hits. So if that 35% chance of a weak hit procs, you have a 50-50 coin flip of negating that weak hit effect on a negative affinity matchup.
Imagine a king who fights his own battles.
One more thing before I let you go. What if a champion's text says this effect cannot be resisted on Gizmak the Terrible, for example, against a Force Affinity champion? What takes precedent, the weak hit or the cannot be resisted? Well, unfortunately, in the case of the Gizmak user, it is the weak hit. It can be resisted on the weak hit, or it never even gets a chance to land. Therefore, you know, there's no actual resistance check there to happen anyway. So guys, the moral of the story here is in the early game, pay attention to your affinity. It has a dramatic impact on your account, your success. Even if you're able to clear certain content in the game with an affinity disadvantage, keep in mind that it could adversely impact your success rate when you're farming said dungeon and you don't want to be throwing away energy. In the arena, even for endgame players out there, make sure that you're building and paying attention to the affinities, especially in live arena when you have the choice of deciding who you want to draft next. If they have a bunch of Force Affinity nukers, make sure you're going with Spirit Affinity defenders on your team or support champions on your team. It has a massive impact, and hopefully we've proven why in today's video. Thank you for watching until the end of the video, and as always, take care, guys.